So real quick, my guest today is looking for programmers for his new very diverse Sonic game mod. Be sure to listen to this interview and tell me what you think in the comments below. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Sonic Historian Podcast, where you interview people about Sonic and their history and their creativity and all things Sonic. And today on my show I'm joined by Marc of Azos and Yuiry. Yuiry, please tell me how to pronounce your last name. I'm sorry.
Of course, no problem. So you may call me Yuiry Pallasov. This is kind of my stage name, creative pseudonym, or etc. I have other real name, but I'm not going to reveal it now. Just call me like that.
Could you tell us a little bit about what the Sons of Mobius is?
Of course. So Sons of Mobius is a mod for Hearts of Iron 4 strategy game. So Sons of Mobius is not something that to become part of my portfolio, but it's a project which helped me with such skills as storytelling, graphical design, programming in general, and team management. Our team is relatively large now. I hope it will be even bigger, so we'll be able to realize all our potential. To begin this, Sons of Mobius is a total conversion mod. So the base game is about World War II and develops some alternative story scenarios. Like the game itself would not be as successful if not to have one great feature. It's a good space to create mods. Some teams have already succeeded to make their own fandom total conversion mods. I can remember Equestria at War united one of the best coders in Hoi 4 community to make My Little Pony Friendship is Magic story real in Hearts of Iron 4 experience. And Old World Blues gives an authentic Fallout universe experience with all the technologies and factions of post-apocalyptic America. And some alternative history projects like Kaiserreich or TNO give us good examples of world building and even character development sometimes. So we decided why not to make something similar for World of Sonic, for Sonic the Hedgehog in Archie comics particularly because the political lore of Archie comics about Sonic was the most developed. They actually had a lot of conflicts between armies and inside apparatus of state. They were represented, and there were lots of reference to national cultures like Kingdom of Acorn, Mercia, Dragon Kingdom, United Federation, and so on. And we want to introduce this lore to Hearts of Iron 4 and also expand it, reimagining some of the old conflicts and developing also new ones. So we mix the original Archie lore with our own fanon. This mod tells the story of the Second Robotnik War and its consequences for entire Mobius.
Wow. Okay, I guess my first question here is what made you think that Sonic would be a good IP, like a good fit for, what was it, Hearts of Iron 4?
So if you are familiar with Archie comics, you can understand this better because in Archie comics we have events as, for example, Democratic Revolution in Kingdom of Acorn or Robotnik War itself and the coup d'etat performed by Robotnik and the Great War and conflicts where massive armies were fighting on large fields. So majority of these events, of course, they are more in narrative, not in events of the general story, but still the story refers to them regularly.
How are the Archie comics accessible, or were they popular there? Or
For the topic of your channels, this may be really interesting, maybe because you could have been interested in how is Sonic fandom in Russia. But okay, I'll tell. It's quite a long story. I know you may think it's not easy to become Archie Sonic fan in Russia, and particularly you're right. Archie comics were not issued in Russia. They had no official translation. The only way to get a printed copy of Sonic Archie comic inside of Russia is to buy it from private collection, which is not affordable for an average Russian man. Of course, one can order some abroad, but it's not a popular thing for Russians. Some issues are being sold in unspecialized shop Geek Trip located in St. Petersburg, and I have bought one for personal memory in last year. It's Sonic Sega series Eggman Empire, I think. This is how the issue is called. It's a comic book. So it was sold in a Russian store, but it's one of very few stores in our country. And the majority of young Sonic fans in Russia were brought up by Sonic X series, which were dubbed in Russian pretty well. Russian Sonic fans love Sonic voice from there. But I was able to watch Sonic's Set AM, which was poorly dubbed with such funny things as Robotnik or hundreds of variations of Snively or Snively name, which was the reason why I had little to no idea how to call him before I took a look at original Archie comics. And I liked Sonic Set AM anyway, and enjoyed the story of characters. I was 14 that year. Their story kind of reminded me of Star Wars a little, about rebels fighting against the tyranny of the evil empire. Even after 8 years, I still feel that Sonic Set AM is pretty underrated and deserves more love and respect than it has now in Russia. After a while, maybe by Wikipedia pages, I had discovered Sonic the Hedgehog comics, which developed the timeline of Set AM and present many new characters, bringing together both game and animated series characters. I read some of Archie Comics Wiki and decided to take a look at comics, and yes, this was an exciting discovery. Fortunately, there is fan collective in Russia called Diamond Dust, which made Russian translation for the majority of important Archie Sonic issues.
Actually, I'm really curious. Before we can, I might be going a little bit off topic here, but so Yuiry, your relationship with the Sonic the Hedgehog games. I know that the distribution of games in Russia was very different. Like, for example, instead of the Famicom, you had the Dendy, which was distributed by Steepler, and then I believe for the Mega Drive, it was the Forus. What was your relationship of growing up with Sonic video games?
The first Sonic video game I played was Sonic Advance 3 for Game Boy. So this was a Russian translation team, yes, called Diamond Dust. They made Russian translation for many important Sonic issues. They helped to get deep into the story quite easy. These conflicts and family issues as a background for adventures and drama was something I was very joyful about. So this was encouraging. It was inspiring.
Okay, so it sounds like you found a lot of the Sonic comics, you said, through a distributor in like St. Petersburg that had them, and you learned more about, like, where did you first see Sonic Sat AM? Did you say you saw that somewhere? You said there's a dub in Russia of it?
Yes. It was dubbed in Russian, but dubbed pretty bad.
Oh, okay.
I thought about several issues with the translation, like, it
was poorly translated.
Names, they had problems with names. I told you about Robotnik. They didn't want to call him Robotnik. Maybe they want to call him Robotnik because they didn't want it to sound like the word, we have some word for employee or worker, Robotnik. And so Robotnik is written quite similar as Russian word Robotnik. maybe
So
this could sound weird for Russian children. So maybe they decided, because of these reasons, to call him Robotnik.
the Robotnik name literally means like worker.
Yes.
Okay.
Not literally.
I see.
There's difference in only one letter. Only one letter is difference. Teaching children to fight with a working man is maybe not a good thing for Russians.
I can understand that.
So they added one letter to make it sound different.
Okay.
Like when I think about it more, it's actually quite funny when you realize that I guess Dr. Robotnik in that interpretation is the working man, whereas he wears like this like militaristic outfit and he builds like this like robot paradise, whereas like Sonic is the one hoarding gold rings and like living this life of decadence.
Yeah.
So of course, and one Russian blogger actually made a theory. It was kind of parody that Sonic was actually anti-Soviet cartoon, and Robotnik was a Soviet Union ex-spy, and so on. And Sonic was power of American capitalism defeating evil communist threat from Robotnik. But it wasn't serious, really. It was just
Absolutely.
a joke.
Huh. So, do you think you could give us tell us who is working on this project? Are there a lot of it seems like there's a lot of people who are behind the creation of this mod of Sons of Mobius.
Of course, yes. Our team is pretty large now. And it's really hard to name everyone behind this mod.
Right. Well, who would you say are like
some persons are quite noticeable. For example, one of our main writers is also a writer for quite a famous Russian video reviewer, Oleg Kulov. He writes scenarios for another video blogger called Krasny Cynic or Red Cynic.
Oh.
You may not know about him because, of course, he makes Russian content in Russian language, so you don't have to know about it. But in Russian space, in Russian internet space, he's quite famous. He makes his own videos too. He
like YouTube
talked about YouTube videos, of course. He talked about Superman Red Sun. He talked about North Korean socialist apples. And some other topics he's interested in.
I love Superman Red Sun. That was a great one.
What, Superman Red Sun? Is that a game?
No, it was a brief mini-series that involved what if Superman if his little pod had crashed into Soviet Russia rather than America.
Oh, I've never heard of this. Okay, so you were saying the person who is writing
it's a very popular comic book mini-series.
Is it? Okay, I'd never heard of it. That's interesting. So you were saying that this YouTube, he makes mostly YouTube videos and he scripts a lot of the YouTube videos. Is that correct?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
And also, he manages a group in VK. It's Russian social media.
Oh, okay. I see. So he is the one currently writing the script. How about in terms of like the art design? Like, what kind of artists do you have working for you? Are there mostly people from? Because I see a lot of people on Twitter that seem to be associated with Sons of Mobius.
The majority of them aren't directly associated because the only relation I have with them is commissioning them.
Oh, I see.
So I just pay for their art and so on. Some artists are commissioned pretty often. Like Anasco. Anasco has made a lot of portraits for our mod. You can just print in search Anasco and you'll find a lot of her content. So she's Ukrainian Sonic fan artist. we have some other people on our side which make art. For example, we have a professional artist called Philip Senin. He's I think he's professional advertise designer. Or I don't want to speak about this wrong, but he made some job with advertisement, and also sometimes another big artist helps us. Partisan 74, he's author of famous painting for Russian man. This was a painting about about Russian partisans on bears.
Huh. Wow.
If you ever saw an artwork where Russian partisans ride bears, this is his work. And he also made some artwork for us. Like he made several posters. He made concepts for our Ruthenian tanks.
So when it comes to like creating the game, like creating the levels and creating a lot of the the coding, you know, putting together not just the artwork, but also like the backgrounds, the everything, you know, to make the characters move on the screen. Who is the person behind? Who is making? You know, I guess you would just say coding, right, Marc?
Well, yes, the programmers.
Programming. Thank you.
So yes, I'm doing the code. I'm not the only one who does the code. Actually, we have several coders.
Oh, okay.
Around 5 coders in our team. Something about that. And so also the models, the majority of models we have are commissioned also, so we paid for them.
I see.
For an hour, they paid to another guy who makes makes mod. He also makes his own mod, Red Alert, about Red Alert. I mean, he's not part of our team. He makes his own mod, but he helps us for money.
Okay, I see.
And also we had one developer who also brought a lot of models in our game by importing assets from open access in our game. This is also helpful. Like Eggman robots were taken from open sources and imported in Hearts of Iron 4 game.
I know that the original game actually uses the Clausewitz ending or engine, I believe, right?
Yes.
I see. I would actually like to get into the real, the real meat of the conversation, which is, can you explain to us essentially the format of the story in the game? I mean, as you mentioned earlier, we have the Robotnik Empire, we have the Kingdom of Acorn, we also have the Socialist Party, which is the Ruthenian. How do they differ, and how much do you bring politics into the table of this game? Like real life politics and all.
Of course, it has some references to real life politics. I can explain, of course. The main issue is that Hearts of Iron 4 players like when a lot of extreme ideologies are represented. And myself, I like to see more of political conflicts. We already had technocratic Eggman in original source. We already had kingdoms. We already had a democratic revolution in Kingdom of Acorn, but in such an advanced level of society, why couldn't we imagine, for example, a socialist revolution or a fascist coup too? We think that they should also happen, so the world would have more of the ideological and cultural diversity. So as we have Anglo-French Kingdom of Mercia, as we have Anglo-American Kingdom of Acorn, we have multicultural United Federation. Why not to have, for example, communist Russian Soviet Ruthenia, or ideologically diverse German Schwarzland? So we also introduce new cultures, new political paths, and rethink the old countries by focuses, by events. We put a lot of narrative in our events. particularly.
Shows here that the Kingdom of Acorn goes into a civil war in itself. Also, you make statements such as, if there's anything worse than a tyrant, it's maybe the people's chosen one or chosen man. So it seems to me, yeah, you really are bringing in like comparably real life scenarios that happened during the Soviet time period.
Yes, there are some different stories. Some of them are really like the real life one, but some of them are more of fictional. For example, we had, if we talk about Ruthenia, we had a person which is based on Felix Dzerzhinsky, but his destiny is different. He was killed, but he was reborn in artificial intellect, which can actually try to control the living people to make what he wants. And
this is fucking cool.
The other thing we have, for example, we have General Karbyshev, ex-spy. You may not know who is General Karbyshev, but he is one of the most brave Soviet generals who died in German imprisonment during the World War II. In our version, he was roboticized, and before that he got some deadly injuries, so he couldn't be deroboticized like Sonic's father in the same comics. In that comics.
It seems like maybe Amadeus Prower is supposed to be MacArthur, perhaps?
Not necessarily. I think not necessarily. Yes, Amadeus Prower, Tails' father. He was one of the fathers of democratic revolution, and in our mod, he can start revolution against Acorns. He can spark the civil war. He can win the civil war, and if the situation becomes so unstable that his wife gets assassinated, he takes over and becomes a Napoleon-like dictator with progressive ideas but pretty authoritarian rule. His own stratocratic path was more based on Napoleon Bonaparte story, but he's not going to become emperor. But he does some things which are similar to Napoleon Bonaparte. For example, he would have his own Prowers Code, which is masterpiece of law compared to all the previous laws in Kingdom of Acorn.
What is the Kazu Empire?
Oh, maybe we shouldn't discuss all the minor nations now, because we have a lot of them in our mod, and if we talk about every single minor nation, this could take forever.
Yeah, I was just throwing it out there. I'm looking at your map right now, and yeah, there is a lot of minor nations. I'm just kind of curious, like, what is Kazu Empire? What is Unclick?
I'm guessing this is all part of the story, correct? Like, we learn more about the story and everything about these names and everything.
Yes.
Okay. How would we be able to play this game? Is it only going to be through like Steam, or is it going to be through your website, or have you planned anything on how we're going to be able to play this?
We will distribute this game through Steam and through our Discord and our Reddit. We will put a link on some site to download our mod if you don't have this licensed copy of Hearts of Iron 4. So we want to care about all the players, both ones who have Steam version and ones who don't have it.
Okay. Can I ask another question about the gameplay? So regarding Heart of Iron 4's gameplay, how different will each nation have like different advantages, such as like manpower, research, economy, etc., like unique units or technology?
Well, for example, Eggman Empire is the country which has the massive robotic army, which can be really powerful. But on the other hand, Robotnik would have one weakness. We're not going to spoiler it here, but each nation may have its own weaknesses. And also some good sides. For example, United Federation can be very influential across the globe, or for example, Soviet Britannia can industrialize itself very quickly and also build up a giant army, but also have some weak spots.
So, for example, like you're going to have heroes, obviously. So how will they perform differently, say, in comparison to your regular unit?
Of course, in our concept, the hero units, they are very powerful, but you should be very careful with them because, for example, they can fight for a long of time and they can't defend the position well enough.
So they're going to have different kind of parameters and whatnot to be utilized.
Yes, we have 4 classes of units. We have the speed, we have the strength, we have technology, and we have how we can spell it, not magic, but parapsychological or something like that, like infinite, like silver and other, which are not to take you by physical parameters.
This is kind of a dumb question, but this being an adaptation of the Archie comics, like, does your story go beyond it, or in its adaptation? Like, how far do your original ideas extend, and what can you say in comparison to the Archie continuity?
Of course, I can say, first of all, we revised some of Archie conflicts. For example, me and my Chinese colleagues didn't like the state of Dragon Kingdom, how it was going in comics. And we decided that we should make it different. So the Iron Dominion is still here, the Iron Queen is still here, the Monkey Han is still here, and other characters are still here. But the vision of Dragon Kingdom War is now different. We have something between Chinese warlord era and Chinese Civil War, if you understand what was this period in Chinese history.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Can you tell me? Well, can you give me like a summary of all the ideologies that will be in the game?
Okay. So I have posted a teaser with all of our ideologies, both on Reddit, in Discord, and even on my Twitter page. Generally, we have 4 democratic ideologies, which are basically taken from Hearts of Iron 2, for example. We have 3 leftist ideologies. One of them is more authoritarian, one of them is less authoritarian, one of them is like more Leninist. Of course, they are called in different names because there were no Karl Marx and Lenin on Mobius, but they had other people to represent the communist teaching. And we have 4 authoritarian rightist ideologies.
I'm not going to put you for the trouble of summarizing everything, so no, don't worry. If anyone's curious, you can check. You can check Yuiry's Twitter or whatnot.
So like when you start playing this game, you can choose to play as any of the nations first. Because I've never played Hearts of Iron, any of the games. But so like if you want to play as Sonic, you can play as like one of, I guess that's just like the Acorn, the Monarchist Acorn, or
yes.
Like could you play as Sonic in like, let's say, the technocratic Eggman area or the Democratic United Federation?
No.
It's only the Acorn.
Of course, actually. During, for example, the war against Eggman, if Kingdom of Acorn capitulates to Eggman, if it gets occupied by Eggman entirely, and Eggman attacks some other major nation, all the heroes of Acorn can jump to the nation which is attacked by Eggman and help it to fight out. So you can imagine a situation when Sonic and Sally escape to United Federation to continue fight with Eggman, and if the United Federation falls, they can even jump to Soviet Britannia to help them too.
Right. So what characters can we come to expect to be, like big name characters like Shadow and, let's say, Blaze the Cat, or maybe some of the chaotics like Vector the... Is he an alligator or crocodile? Shit, I can't remember.
I've made a table to answer this question. I have a table which
the frequently asked questions.
All our plans. Yes, which contains all our plans about characters, about canon characters in our mod. Not of all these plans may be achieved in the first version, but we shall do our best to complete this list entirely.
Okay, so it's kind of it's being decided. Or it's been decided in, like, you could check your Discord or your Reddit, and we could see which characters are where.
Yes.
Can we expect any kind of content from, like, the current, like, IDW comics?
I don't think so right at the moment. Like we had some idea to put the robovirus, or how is it's called?
The metal
virus. The metal virus arc into our mod, but not currently at the moment where it is in our plans.
Right. So I wanted to ask you then: can Sonic or like any of the other characters like presume power through marriage or through like death of another leader?
Well, for example, as I mentioned in a table, you can see that Sonic can become head of the state, but he won't be head of the state he wouldn't be a guy who decides everything. He would be more like a face of the state. But if Sonic becomes king, this means that Sally Acorn is queen, and so Sally Acorn, as more experienced and more rational politician, she would manage the majority of things in the state, while Sonic will just, give speeches, travel around the country, save children, save kittens, and show that he's a good guy and his own kingdom is good. And the real authority will be managed by Sally Acorn still. I think it's fair.
I got one question that again, it's gonna be a little bit of a doozy here, but hey. Are there nukes?
Yes, there are nukes, and we have our own mechanics of nuclear weaponry. We have not just nuclear weapons, we also have a missile defense system. So you can develop your missile defense system, and if your enemy decides to launch ballistic missiles on you, you have some chance that these missiles won't achieve your territory, and you can survive this nuclear war without consequences for your own country, of course.
Excellent. No, I really appreciate the work you're putting into this. And again, like you said, I really do hope that it does bring back full circle what the Sonic fan base can do.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I hope so too. Yeah, I was going to say I haven't really read the Archie comics past issue 70, and I've been meaning to get back to them. Eventually, hopefully, I'd be able to pick up on a lot of the, story elements that you're probably put into the game. So I imagine that'll be a lot of fun.
You don't have to know a lot of lore to play our mod, really.
Oh, that's even better.
We put a lot of lore in our events, and you won't have to read comics before to understand what's going on.
So it's kind of like an Easter egg. You kind of find like a special thing you can find, and like, oh, I know what that is. You can feel smart for knowing what it is. That's cool. That's really cool. All right, then. I guess we could plug our things. So if you want to follow Yuiry, you can join his Discord. I'll put it down in the description down below. You can follow him over on Reddit, over on Twitter as well. Is there anything else I'm forgetting? Yuiry, is there any other social media you'd like me to push for you?
I don't think the majority of people would be interested in VK. And I would recommend to follow my Twitter because VK, no, you shouldn't. you shouldn't look for my VK. You can just put a link to my Discord and to our Reddit. We have a Reddit page. If you can find it in even Reddit updates channel in Discord.
Great. Okay. Yeah.
So we have Reddit community.
Excellent. Yeah. So you can follow them there. So yeah, be sure to follow them there. If you want, be sure to give us 5 stars on iTunes. While we're working on this podcast, working to get it up, get it a little more transparent, and hopefully more people will follow the show. So until then, I'm Radrey. I fucked up the outro, fuckers. God damn it. So until then, I'm Radrey, and
I'm Marc.
And that was Yuiry. Fuck me. Yuiry Pallasov? Forgive me. Pallasov. Thank you. All right. See you guys.
Thank you very much, Yuiry.
Yeah. Oh, Marc, did you want to plug anything?
Thank you all.
You can follow me on Instagram. I'm actually Super Famicom. So.